It's very early to be doing a poetry gig. Normally I'll be doing this about 12 hours later in a day, but it's nice to see you all and it's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm going to do a couple of poems for you, a couple of story poems, one light, one less light. And I'll be talking to you later on about what it means to me to be a poet and how I've gone about sort of building my career on my own, how I make money from being a poet, but I'll talk about that later on. For now, a couple of stories. The first one is about a fat kid called Josh. Fat Josh, his forehead dripped with lard, his manner blunt as bricks. He led a gang of burly boys with swear words on their lips, an appetite for violence and a bigger one for chips. They hung around outside the school, collective gut immense. They yelled and burped and hucked up phlegm and largely caused offence. They'd rob pizza delivery boys, then eat the evidence. At school they roamed the playing fields, they loitered in the bogs. On weekends they set fire to stuff and idly tortured dogs. And holidays are much the same except they ate the dogs. Each meal a cornucopia of additives and fat, of drinks that turn your feces red and meat that tastes of sprats. Oh, food, reconstituted food. Oh, food not fit for cats. And in this way, Fat Josh remained near 18 stone and cruel. An acneed sumo Al Capone, complete with power tools, untouchable. That was until a new girl came to school. See, Polly Smith was beautiful, so charming, kind and funny. When Polly walked into a room, the room felt really sunny, and every time she clip-clop past, Fat Josh sucked in his tummy. Until one day, he bit the bullet, swallowed the bullet, scoffed the rest of the pack, spat into his beefy hand and slicked his hair right back. He walked straight up to Polly Smith and he gave her bum a smack. "I choose you as my bird," said Josh in breathy onion sighs. Polly smoothed her school skirt down and, trying not to cry, replied with perfect diction, "Why, Josh, I'd rather die." With callous, girlish laughter still ringing in his ears, a heart that felt as if it had been pierced by poison spears, Fat Josh retraced his steps back home and struggled with his tears through long, dark evenings of the soul, his bedroom deadly quiet, until the answer dawned on him, till Josh could not deny it. Two words that filled his heart with dread: exercise and diet. He wheezed his way through treadmill days. He panted on the bikes. He decommissioned his remotes and went on 10-mile hikes, then cried and gnawed his sausage hands when hunger came to strike. For those who follow diets know that KFC's invalid. Things like no bread sandwiches will only leave you pallid. Love can do some awful things, but few as bad as salad. And so the August days rolled by. The teachers took a break and munched upon their 5 a day at festivals and fetes until one September day there was a stirring at the gates. Slack jaws were hanging southward, cries of "Who the hell is that?" Familiar grimace on the face, the belly strangely flat. "Oh my days, is it Fat Josh? Only like, you know, but he ain't fat." The arms were toned, the chest was ripped, the shoulders 3 foot wide, with chiseled cheeks and tree-like thighs that gave a John Wayne stride. He stalked across the plain fields and stood at Polly's side, grinning, puffing out his chest like he just want to fight. "You thought I'd never do it, Paul?" His voice shot through his spite. He spat words like bulimia. "You're out with me tonight." "You stupid meathead," Polly yelled, which took him by surprise. "Your belly never bothered me. In fact, I like fat guys. See, I've got this thing for muffin tops. It's just dickheads that I despise." So, once again, Fat Josh retreated, knocked around and beat, a moral forming in his head, which I shall now repeat. You have to change your attitude, not just the things you eat. Thank you. Yeah, so it's based on a true thing, actually, because my friend Laura, she's got a little brother called Hector, and Hector is like a beatboxer, yeah, except like he's like a nice middle-class kid. But he's got like a beatboxing crew, and part of his crew is the kid they call Fat Josh for obvious reasons. And she used to tell me little stories about Josh every time I saw her. I used to like get my updates on Josh. And all of it's made up, apart from the bit about robbing pizza delivery boys. That's true. He used to kick them off their bikes when they're at traffic lights, and like take all the pizzas and go sit under a tree. I think a man with that much dedication to his stomach deserved to be immortalised in verse. So I'll just do one other one for you, and it uses the same verse pattern as the last one, but hopefully the effects are very different. And it's about a girl called Tracy, right? And Tracy lives in a place called Erith, which is in Kent, and it's just in Kent. It's kind of right on the border of London. And she lives on the 14th floor of this tower block, and from the window of her bedroom, she can see the Dartford toll. Do you know, it's a long way from you guys, but there's the Dartford crossing where you have to like queue up and pay your toll. Well, you did anyway. It's all changed now. It's all done with cameras now. But it used to be massive tailbacks, and yeah, everyone has to wait to chuck a quid in a bucket. The barrier lifts up, cars go, and they go into a tunnel. And go to Essex, it's not much of an escape, but I can say that I'm from Essex. And she watches these cars queue up, and she wishes life was that simple, that you could just throw a quid in a bucket and get out of there. So this is a poem for her. It's called The Toll. Tracy lived on Lana Road, where 14 stories high, she gazed to where Thames industry met marsh and endless sky, and dreamed a future of escape, or brooding, lost and shy. The girl was never good at school. She lingered near the back, this short, determined, chubby thing whose eyes were almost black. Ignored, she made her way through school, divided from the pack. And Mum would have her good days, all promises and treats. The trip to KFC for tea, a DVD, some sweets. But Tracy learned each victory brought with it a defeat. A smashed cup on the kitchen floor, her dinner in the bin. The chicken thighs half thawed and raw with crispy charcoal skin. The gerbil cage, a reek of piss. Those days when Mum caved in. She learned to use the microwave and other tiptoe tasks. She learned to wash her uniform and lie when adults asked, met questions with a question. She learned to wear a mask. But most of all, she watched the cars at Dartford's distant toll and longed to make those trips herself, to leave her life of dole, those hopeless days when everything seemed out of her control. Escape into those two dark throats, to Essex, then beyond, or high upon the bridges back and down into the ponds and fields of England's garden county. Break the constant bonds of youth and pass down torpor in a concrete ersatz town. The water stains, graffiti trains, the shades of grey and brown, their years accrued like empties. Her barriers came down and stayed that way through Leavers Day. 100 scrawled on shirts and giddy talk of sixth form, but for Tracy it was work, to pay the toll then drive away from where her sadness lurked. Apply then wait, until one afternoon the tardy post brought better news. She danced around her room. The Highways Agency wrote back. Start 21st of June. So Tracy went to work the toll. And that vast macadam waste, cocooned within her tiny booth, they paid her, poker-faced, mechanical, methodical, and then away they raced. And it wasn't like the girl imagined. These people fast and free, but hot from queues with emerald blues, these pissy escapees would sometimes shout or swear at her. They hardened steadily. As year on year, the hail and sunshine rained down on her booth, and dreary, doleful adulthood replaced expectant youth. Her hopes became more muddled up. She learned a simple truth. That escape, as big and pure as sung by a schoolgirl in her room when gins engulfed her mum again on a wretched afternoon, will get drowned out by bills and health and life's relentless tune. She saved enough to rent a flat, to make a proper home. She swapped her old girl's chintzy tap for modish monochrome. But as she brushed her teeth that night, it dawned. Mum's on her own. And of course she'd known that would be the case, but now she felt this guilt. She realised as she looked round this clean, fresh home she'd built that Mum had done this years ago, before her wasted will. And perhaps it was executives arguing the toss, or maybe all the sleazy banter spewed out by her boss, but when her rage at Mother faded, she didn't feel its loss. Before, she'd just been terrified that she might go that way, stack sadness on calamity and just collapse one day, but now she knew that wasn't her. She made a plan to stay. And Tracy went to see her mum. She helped her clean and cook. They shared out pieces of their days in lieu of children's books, and every hour they sat and talked was one less drink she took. Still, day on day it did its work, uneven, sure and slow. Until one evening, Tracy, love, it's just, before you go, the words got caught. Her dark eyes filled. It's all right, Mum. I know. It took another month or so. Sultry, jaundiced dawn. So very like the morning that her Tracy had been born. She groaned and slipped away while her daughter walked the hospice lawn. Tracy washed her mother's forehead, allowed herself some tears, and sat about the deathly admin, paid the rent arrears, kept a piece or two of tat, the rest to auctioneers, and with it, most of her stuff too. Until one Saturday, her notice worked. The moment came. It had been right to stay. In doing so, she'd earned escape. Paid up. She drove away.